Hey everyone, my name's Claire from Pilates. Claire, welcome to my studio. Can you stand up from a seated position without using your hands? Or can you come down to sitting from a standing position without using your hands? If you can, that's brilliant, well done. And if you can't, then hopefully this video is going to give you a few tips and pointers and a few exercises that will hopefully enable you to do that at some point with a bit of practice. So there is something called the sit stand test, which is exactly what it says. It takes you from sitting to standing and standing to sitting without using your hands. And it apparently is a good indicator of um, our lifespan essentially. And the more things that you have to touch on the way down or on the way up to give you a bit of support takes like 10 years off your life. Maybe Google it. I don't know the full details, but that's the basics of it. Now, fortunately, in Pilates, we do a lot of exercises that can help with this. So, what do we need to enable us to go from sitting to standing and standing to sitting? We need to have balance, we need to have flexibility, we need to have good lower body strength. And in lower body strength, I'm also including core strength within that. So if we started a mat work class, then generally I will start standing and then we will go from a standing position. So we're here, you've joined my class, and I'm going to tell you to cross your arms over, press them into each other, cross your legs, and then bend your knees and come all the way down to sitting without thudding and without, having to use your hands to kind of support yourself on the way down. So you might look at that and think, I'm never going to be able to do that. And it may be that you can't do it exactly like that, and we can look at alternative ways with different feet positions and different leg positions that might enable you to do that. Or we can also use props to help build up the strength. But there are so many Pilates exercises that will give you those skills, will give you the balance, the flexibility, and the strength to enable you to do that. So if we look again at that standing to seated positioning, then you might see this same shape in a lot of our exercises that we do. So if we're here, and I'm going to create that C curve through my spine as I lower myself down. So if I get to here, I'm kind of in that roll like a ball position. I know rolling like a ball is not everyone's favorite exercise, but it certainly makes sense to me that if we're creating that same shape through our back when we're going from standing to sitting, then it makes sense to work on our roll like a ball exercise to enable us to do that part of the exercise. So in roll like a ball, we create that curve through our back and we roll back and we roll up and we find that point to balance on and we roll back and up. So you've maintained that long C curve through your spine. You create length to your back. You're engaging through your core, and all of that will help build strength for you to come down to a sitting position. And so, how do we get back up? So you can again start with that roll like a ball. And if we're here and we roll back, and then you might just come forwards a little bit and then down and up. So you just lift the hips just a little bit. And what about if you can't do roll like a ball at all? Maybe you roll back and kind of nothing happens and you can't get back up and you have to use your hands or just start all over again. So there's things that we can do for that as well. So you might start by just holding the backs of your thighs so that you can use your legs a little bit so that you roll back and the legs might swing a little bit and bring you forwards. Now, it's very difficult when the feet are that far in front of your hips to rock forwards. You've kind of got nowhere to go. So we do need to work on bringing those feet closer to your hips. So you might find that if you squeeze a ball, so if you have a ball between your ankles and your seat bones, then you can squeeze that to help keep you tucked in. Or if you have a little bar, you can have that here and hook it under your elbows and then rock back, and we go back and up and find that point to balance on. So you roll back and up. So you could try that. And then when we finish Pilates, often in like a beginner's or an intermediate class, we'll finish with the seal, and the seal is a rocking exercise as well. So in the seal, we're here and we clap our feet. So we have 1, 2, 3, and we roll back. 1, 2, 3, and we roll up. Now, what I was taught is that we cross the legs and we come up and we're back in that standing cross-legged position. And that's fine to do it that way. However, what I find is that we often end up crossing our legs over the same way the whole time, because to do it the other way, it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right. So what I prefer to do if we're coming up from the seal is we clap, 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 roll back, clap, 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 roll up, come into a parallel position, and then come up from there. So rather than crossing the legs, which if you've got knee problems, that isn't a great way of doing it anyway, but rather than crossing, you keep your feet in parallel and you bring yourself up from that rolling position. So it might be that working on those rolling exercises is all you need to give you the strength and the flexibility that you need to enable you to do the standing, sitting, sitting, standing. Now, like I say, there are lots of things we need to work on with that. One of those things is keeping our legs tucked in as much as possible. But it might just be that you're working on that and you're almost there, but you can't do that last bit without kind of thudding to the floor or using your hands to lower yourself down. So in that case, you might just want to use a couple of blocks. So obviously you can't do this if you want to do the rolling bit, because you're going to hurt yourself. So you need to make sure you're safe. But let's say we're here. And again, you can have feet in parallel and you can take your arms up and you've got to tip your weight forwards, and then you can come up and you can do the same. And because you've got your blocks, you haven't got quite so far to go to reach the mat, so you can build up your strength that way. You can do that cross-legged as well, and cross arms. So you're here and we come up and the same thing. And where it gets really difficult, your blocks are just there for that last bit of support. And as you get better at it, obviously you can start to reduce the number of blocks that you use. So it makes it a little bit harder. I'm that little bit closer to the floor now. So we cross the legs and we're going to tip forwards and come up. And then the same on the way down, thinking of growing taller and controlling yourself on the way down until you reach the block. So that's one way of doing that. We could also, instead of crossing our legs here, we could take one leg back. So we take it back and we kind of come into a little curtsy and we come down onto one knee and then move that leg out of the way, bring this leg back, and we're in our seated position there. And you can come up the same way. So you can take one leg out in front, you're going to roll forwards, bring that leg behind, and then come up from there. So you could try that as well. That might be better for you if you have particular knee problems. Obviously, whenever you practice this, make sure that you're in a safe area. You're not going to fall over and hurt yourself. We don't want that to happen. Other things that we could do would be to start with the legs in a slightly different position. So we're here, and then we come up, and again, bring one leg forwards, and then the other, and then the same, down, down, legs to the side, and in that seated position. I quite like doing it from a squat. I find that that works quite well. So you could come into like a very low squat, and then use your legs, use your glutes to bring yourself up. And the same thing on the way down. You come into that squat position, lower yourself down, and then just gently rocking back, taking the legs out in front. So I think, like I say, I think that's a good alternative. And you can also add in like a bit of a roll back and a roll up to help give you almost that bit of momentum to bring you up to standing, and you can use it on the way down as well. So you could do like a little roll back, like a mini roll, like a ball, and then come up and then down and roll back. And you can do it that way as well. You just need to be careful there that you're not kind of flinging yourself over and doing it with no control whatsoever. So you can use your hands initially and then try and feel which bits, need to be strengthened in order for you to stop using your hands. So you might kind of come up to here and rock forwards, and then when you get to this bit, you might just need to push on your hand a little bit and lift yourself up like that, or support yourself on the way down. And if you need to do that, then that's fine. You do that and see how it goes, and then work on gradually trying to not rely on that hand to help you come up and down. So there's a few things that you can work on. I think in general, a lot of our exercises that we do in Pilates are going to help anyway. So if you're doing Pilates regularly, I think it will naturally build up the strength that you need to enable you to do this. But I think particular things to work on are your roll like a ball. So you're working on maintaining that nice long C curve through your spine. You're using your abdominals. You're keeping your feet close to your hips. So you're working on that flexibility so that when you come up to you roll back and you come up, you want your feet close in so that you can then rock forwards and bring yourself up to standing. If we're here and we fling our legs and they come up and they're out in front of us, then from here, there's no way that I could get up kind of without adjusting either my feet or using my hands to lift myself up. So flexibility here plays a part, your balance. So when you're, especially I find, especially going from standing to sitting, you reach a point where you've got to have good balance, otherwise, you could wobble around and end up having to put your hand down to support yourself. So flexibility in the legs, balance to stop you wobbling around, and then strength in the lower part of the body. And as I say, within that, I'm including core strength as well. So core strength, leg strength, glute strength, in order for you to be able to push yourself up into that standing position and also come down with control. So I hope that video has given you a few things to work on. Please like and subscribe so you can keep updated with all my other videos, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.